Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Rivers, and welcome to the Father and Son show with Bob Rivers and Andrew Rivers. I called it a cage match sort of jokingly because, well, I've been thinking I should spend more time talking to Andrew, more time mentoring my son, but actually, we don't really get along that well. We don't really like each other that much, except in a podcast, because we're both workaholics, I think. Although he's a millennial, so I'm not sure he understands the first part of that word.
Some of my friends try to get me into Taylor Swift, and they'll play a song for me, but then 10 seconds into the song, they pause it, and they're like, okay, so this is about her ex-boyfriend, but her ex-boyfriend from like 10 years ago. It's actually like a remix version of the song because of a record label. Don't even get me started on the Jews. You know what? There's like a Netflix documentary that explains all this. I'm like, I didn't know there was Lord of the Rings backstory. I missed season 1 of Taylor Swift. None of this makes any sense anymore. You don't get that with rap music. You put on a rap song, you're like, that's why I f***ed your bitch, you fat like, I know who that's about. That fat right there.
Andrew Rivers, welcome to the cage match. How are you?
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
I just insulted you and you said thank you. I think that's perfect.
I mean, you know, people can decide for themselves what they believe. So I have no interest in sparring this early.
Playing it close to the vest. All right, let's bring our moderator and dear friend, Zip Fell. Zip, are you a godfather? Andrew's godfather? Aren't you the godfather of one of the kids? Maybe it's Keith.
It's one of the two. I think it was Keith.
It sounds like you take your duties very seriously. Yeah. All right, Zip Fell.
He got the good one in the draft
for over 40 years, who at times babysat for Andrew and Keith. And anyway, so we're here because we have a lot of fun on the podcast, and seriously. And Andrew was hanging out here recently, and I just said, well, let's just do one with you and me because I think it's interesting. There's this dynamic of I'm old and out of touch, but I think I'm more aware of being old and out of touch than a lot of old and out of touch people. That's my saving grace. And Andrew is this millennial, hard-working comic. But these days, work used to be the Flintstones. You used to get in your car, you used to start it with your feet, and you'd hold the crow down, and you'd go to work, and now work is like sitting in front of a device all day, plotting your spot, plotting your spot in the digital sphere. And so I thought honestly, this isn't just about me mentoring Andrew. He's mentoring me. He's done a lot to teach me about the digital world and, how he lives. And yeah, we're father and son, so we're sometimes weird together. Is that a good description to start off?
As opposed to when you were working, when you just drove into a building every day and talked to your buddies for a couple hours and then drove home. It was real tough, I'm sure.
You forgot the part about uphill in the snow. Yes. So, all right. No, this is good. So the impression you have is it was easy because...
Oh, no, I don't. I think you worked very hard, but I was just comparing what I do to what you do, because you were trying to be cute and go, this guy over here just goes click, boop, like, reshare, and that's my whole job. And then, all of a sudden you just get millions of views, and then you go fill stadiums. I mean, it's not that hard, So
yeah. Oh no, it's. I admire how hard you work. It's just a whole different ecosphere. This, my device is my connection to the world. And I guess it's perfectly natural to you, right? Because you've never known another time.
Yes. The billionaires that be decided that we would all become addicted to our phones. So, they made, they designed every app after Candy Crush and made you buy extra jawbreakers or whatever, and now you don't have a retirement account. So
that sums it up pretty good.
yeah.
How do you? I want to hear. I want to dig in a little. I want to hear how you view each day. Like when you wake up, do you have a to-do list from the day before, or do you just wing it? Like, do you just get on the device and let its magical heroin addictive like properties manage your life? How does it work?
You're not far off. There's usually like a weekly to-do list, there's I try to view it I try to view it a little bit in the terms of like the weekly goals. There's like daily goals, there's weekly goals, there's long-term goals. You got to kind of break it down, but each week is a week to attack, right? Because I know that usually Thursday through Saturday or Sunday, I'm performing, I'm working, which means Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is sort of free time. But even that is spent writing and writing about the week before and, trying to go over the lessons that I learned on stage from the week before. And then how do I apply I think of it a lot in terms of like the football season. These guys go out and play violent chess once a week, but they spend all week preparing for that moment, because a thing that you used to tell me is that the stage time is the frosting of the cupcake. It's all the boring stuff that makes up 90% of the comedy cupcake, if you will. So,
well, that's like in the restaurant business, 90% of the effort is prep, and then you throw the stuff into the wok, and you cook it up pretty quick.
Yeah,
I get that.
So, for me, it's about.
Can I stop you for a second? Did you just call football violent chess?
Yes,
that's awesome.
It's my favorite analogy.
Wow.
Because that's that's the whole game. Is just all these pieces and how can you move them around, and they each do different things, and then can you take the other guy's head off?
Yeah.
There's a really great Netflix show that's just came out called Quarterbacks, and it follows, I think, 3 or 4 different quarterbacks throughout the whole season. And so you see them at home getting their massages, the guys, screaming in pain. And then he still has a game to play in 4 days, even though internally, every time he scratches his butt, he's, getting a shot of pain through his whole body. And so it's really fascinating to see, there's a lot of similarities in my mind of athlete to, you're performing, there's a whole thing, and the game is a lot of mental,
Yeah.
There will be times on stage where I flub a line and I'm freaking out and I've got to refocus and get my head in the game. And just like if you throw an interception, you can't really dwell on what you already fucked up. You just got to go back and keep making the next play better. And so I try to listen to a lot of like sports psychology and stuff like that. But
I love the sports analogy. And what's interesting about the sports analogy is that this is nothing new in human civilization. I mean, what you just described, what we do to football players, is very similar to the Christians and the Lions. The Lions not being a sports team back in those days, they were hungry lions. And we would throw them in there.
When you were going to middle school, right?
That's when I was in middle school. And we would throw them in
riding
there.
Your dinosaur uphill and
on the way, yes. But we would throw them in there for our amusement at their physical, I mean, is it torture or is there something about macho guys, maybe some macho women too, but I'm trying to be equal opportunity, but where they actually like risking their lives, on a team with a chance of being physically hurt. And maybe people are in the sports because there's just not enough wars anymore. I mean, it's just a thought.
Well, there's plenty of war going on. It's just not televised.
By the way, there's too much. All war is too much. I didn't mean not enough, but you know what I meant. not enough.
Well, if
for-
you just a couple more years, hopefully, and we'll be in another big one. I think so.
It's looking that way. No, but you know
You
what I
just
mean.
hold out
In
hope.
other words, Zip, what do you think? We're aggressive. Aggressiveness and doing battle is part of who we are as a species, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I was just going to say, speaking of doing battle, this was supposed to be the big cage match. You guys are being so civil to one another. It's
I know.
like
This is
two old
It's
friends
early.
meeting
Give
on the
it
street.
give it
corner.
time here. You can't force the
no,
confrontation. It's got to happen.
yeah.
Well, it's very interesting looking in from the outside, from the studio audience. Bob, you had the same performance thing with the anonymity of being a voice on the radio, and Andrew does it live in person where kinetically, I mean, he suffers the pain if it blows up in his face.
Instant feedback, good or bad, but he
Right.
gets the good. He gets the laughs. I got to look over there and say, did I make Zip chuckle just a little bit? And
Well,
no,
if my audience was comprised of Zips, I'd have a much bigger career because he
an
laughs
easy
at
laugh,
almost
I
anything.
am.
generally,
He's an easy
yeah,
one.
yeah. So
You'll be billed for it later, Andrew. No problem.
Thank
yeah.
you. I
So Zip,
appreciate
do we usually fight more? I mean, it always feels stressful to us, like we're fighting, because we're both creatives who are used to controlling our own stage. Does that make sense to you, Andrew?
I don't feel. To me, it's just second nature to rib you and to
Mm.
pull your ponytail on the playground a little bit, and I mean, again, I'll get in trouble sometimes with friends because I'll make jokes, and everyone loves a good joke until it's sort of about
On
them,
them.
and
Yeah.
so this is just how I talk
So wait
with
a minute.
people, and
I've been taking this
that's why
personally.
I don't
So
have a lot of friends. But
yeah. So you don't think we're old and out of touch? I was like taking it
I mean,
personally.
I didn't. Those words never came out of my mouth. Absolutely,
I'm summarizing.
you are old and you are out of touch. But
Okay, good. And I want to
there is
know. Yeah.
there's a
I wanna know
reason they
more.
call it blissful ignorance.
Mm.
But he
It
does
shouldn't
make a
be a bad
concerted
thing.
effort to remain
yeah.
in touch.
Yeah.
He does.
I mean, you're young and on the couch, okay? And that's okay because I understand that the couch is your office. It took me a while to understand that, but your mother doesn't understand that. When you come over and you're on the couch, she's like, he's 38 years old. He's on the couch. So she doesn't get the whole work part of it.
Sure. I mean, there's, especially at my stage, I have sort of cut out all the middleman by necessity. I have a manager. He doesn't really respond to my texts or emails. So, which
That's a
why
good
would he?
manager.
I'm not making him any money necessarily. So,
Mm.
if I cut out all the people that do the mindless activity and do it myself, I reap all the rewards and I get all the failure, So
Yeah.
I'm already comfortable with that in the performance aspect. So it's nothing to me to track down venues and research them and find out what's going on out in the world,
Do you think of yourself as an influencer?
No.
Huh.
I think that influencers have well, it's in the name. They have an ability to influence people, I think that the 300 or 400 people that look at my Instagram every day and my Facebook every day, I don't think, every time I post a link to my shop, I don't, I might sell one t-shirt a week. That's, I don't know if that's influencer category necessarily, like maybe at a very small scale, but I, no vitamin snake oil company is hitting me up to go,
Okay.
we'll pay you $1,000 to post our cream on your Instagram so that you can get people to buy our bullshit. That's
So
when you reach Instagram
you're
influencer territory, I think.
you're using the word influencer as the narrow definition of someone who gets people to buy products on social media.
Well, and you influence behavior.
Yes. And to me, every performer is an influencer, a musician, a comedian. Like, the whole thing you're doing is connecting with people to the point where they want more of you because you give them something else no one else can. That's influence. No?
It's debatable. You would think an
That sounds pretty
influencer would be able to make money, but sure. I mean, if you're saying I can influence somebody's mood, if they come into my show with a bad day, leave going, wow, that guy's fucked up. At least I'm not that. I feel good about myself. Maybe in that essence, but
that makes even the homeless influencers.
I mean, we're all influencing, one way or the other. The people that come up to me and go, "You're from Seattle. Oh, the homeless people spit on me." And I go, well, he's influencing you to not walk down that dark alley,
Interesting. Yeah, it's just,
when does it become a career,
well, so here's the thing. You're doing the small ball thing now, but you also have tens of millions of views online. So
many people have scrolled past my videos. Yes, that is correct.
But I mean, that's interesting because it's small and big. Like, and every single person who has one of these essentially has their own television studio, their own streaming broadcast platform, and the ability, and dare I say, it feels like people feel like they have the responsibility to create a media piece about.
Everybody is a Kardashian. You can have a reality show at your fingertips, Now, are you as interesting and do you generate an audience necessarily? Maybe not, but everyone has the capability. That's why it's so funny. People constantly ask, like, how do I become a comedian? And it's like, rent a theater, sell tickets, and if people show up, you can do that on day one,
Sure.
There's
sure.
you don't need permission to make art necessarily.
But yes, that's true. 100% true. But you left out have an act.
Well, I've seen many comedians that don't have an act sell out a comedy club. So get her done.
Is it cage match? Get her done. Wait a minute. That's Larry the Cable Guy.
Sure. Yes. I mean, I'm just being
now we can fight about something.
I'm being a silly goose, just to start something. But
I mean, he's not current, but massively.
No, and
huge.
he certainly had an act that other people gave him, and all more power to you.
Where could I go panhandle an act that would sell out the Paramount Theater 8 nights in a row if people are giving those away?
Well, you have to buy them, but
oh. Are you saying he had writers?
Yes.
And himself. Got it. So your hope is to stay small enough that you never have writers.
I would love to outsource anything possible.
Okay.
I don't think it would be as authentic. I don't do the type of comedy that necessarily other people can write. A lot of people, I struggle. A lot of comedians there's a lot of collaboration where, I can have an idea and then I call up a couple buddies and they write a little tag or something, but it has to fit like a Tetris piece, so it has to sound like me. It has to make sense. And it also has to make me laugh because I'm the one who has to perform it every night.
That's right.
And then the compromise is that it has to also make them laugh. So,
but in the pro world, once you are a voice, a branded voice that people know what to expect of you, other people can write for your voice. I mean, I've just seen that not just with Larry, but Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, all the evening hosts have a unique point of view, and material.
And it is whatever their corporate sponsor overlords tell them it is. Yeah.
All right then. Every once in a while, Andrew says something I cannot disagree with. Let's mark the time. The
I
corporate
got a
overlord.
Andrew.
Okay.
When did his celebrity radio personality career, obviously, to use an influencer term, influence you to become a stand-up? Somewhere along the line, was it an aha moment? That's what I want to do, or he can do
It's
it. I
very
can do it. Was
slow.
it a
Yeah,
one up?
when you indoctrinate your children, it's not immediate. It doesn't
Indoctrinate.
it's not
Sorry.
like they
Apologies for the
they
public
read
school.
Clifford the Big Red Dog, and then they think all big red dogs are the size of a house. Immediately it's a slow burn. So, but certainly, I mean, he used to watch the Tonight Show with Jay Leno every night. So just to spend time with my dad, I'd have to sit with him in front of the idiot box, and you know,
Which indoctrinated him to being on the couch.
yes.
That
So,
was a skill set he developed.
Yeah.
I think the biggest influence, I was actually thinking about this on the drive over here today, is the thing I might bring up in a complimentary way, is that one of the things I love about my dad and his career and his comedy voice, if you will, is that he sort of zigged in a time that everyone was zagging. My career is about underpriced attention, right? Where can I go
Yeah.
that no one else is really doing? Because otherwise you get lost in the noise. And my
Doing the
dad
same
sort
thing
of
everyone
came
else.
up in an era of radio that was shock jock and say, Tom Likas and say ridiculous things. And he went almost the opposite direction, where he was like, I'm just having a conversation with my friends, and it's going to be an honest, empathetic conversation. It's going to be interesting. And so I think a lot of people gravitated towards him because they felt like they were developing a relationship with him through the radio, and they could get a sense of his personality, and they were sick of the yelling. Like, if you watch sports television, is a great example. It's all Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, these guys that argue with each other, and they go, LeBron James sucks, and then their guy goes, LeBron James is amazing, and they fight
by
for
the
an
way-
hour, and then they go, we'll be right back, a message from Coca-Cola. And the only reason people watch it is because they get angry they go, well, fuck you for saying LeBron is Tom Brady and whatever. And so it was really admirable to me that he could, make an honest living, if you will. And in a maybe not so honest field,
All right.
where
It's
everyone's
interesting,
playing a
Andrew,
character.
and I have to cut you off here because what you're
It's going
saying is
too
so
long
nice.
without an insult. He's got to stop
No,
it.
it was
Yeah.
it was too nice because all those people you mentioned, like or Likas or Howard Stern or all these monstrous radio personalities, they were all filling stadiums where we had a nice little family show in one city, which is the equivalent of you waking up and having 300 likes. Compared to Taylor Tomlinson, who is selling out the Venetian 7 nights in a row. So it was definitely it was a time of edgy radio. I mean, when I think of the things we used to do on the radio,
you never got the opportunity to be on these bigger platforms, which is something we'll probably have in common. The idiots in charge don't necessarily know what's good for them.
So here's something I found. If you call them the idiots in charge, they actually they don't warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's that's the beauty of what I've carved out for myself now, is no one can take anything away from me except Zuckerberg necessarily. But I'm not necessarily reliant on NBC, or I'm not reliant on Coca-Cola to pay my bills. So I have the freedom, July 4th, wave your flag. I have the freedom to pursue the things that I want,
Do whatever you want. Absolutely. That's the beauty of what you do, that you're a entrepreneur or solo act. You know how many freaking keyboards I used to have lug around with amplifiers and speakers and You know, and a
I
radio
mean, my
show I had
roommate
like
is an Uber driver, and he has plenty of freedom too, you know,
yeah,
but
he
there's
does.
levels to it. So
No, but I mean, yeah. I mean, we had like 8 employees. We had a big sales department. We had all the. It took 50 people to essentially sell the morning show and run the radio station. So the
and
fact
now
that you could
Facebook
travel
does
light,
all that for me, you know. I just
yeah,
post on there and they're like, "We'll find the ads for you. You just focus on being funny." And that's my
yeah.
middleman right now.
But Zuck is your corporate overlord.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you upset the Facebook algorithm, you know,
Yeah.
you're banned for 7 days. You're shadow banned, as they like to call it. Yeah, there's certain,
Has
you
that
know,
happened to
even
you?
because, well, not necessarily in that format, but
Recently?
like
Okay.
I'll post a video that says like men are dogs, and they'll say that's hate speech, and you go, what are we doing? Can we not?
Yeah.
You know, it's a
Um,
joke. It's a
depends
whatever. It's
on your definition of what exactly it is that a dog does, because there are certain parts of it that are indisputable, basically. Yes. Men are dogs. Yeah.
so.
Hmm.
I mean, but it really was just an analogy of like you just pet him and feed him and let him hump the couch and you know, whatever. It's I forget the old joke, but that's just the first thing that popped in my mind. But yeah, you know, there's definitely things you look out for, and I have to bleep certain words. And even now with your God Smokes Cannabis video, you know, Cooper, who is my cousin and the actor in the video, is, oh, my friend at High Times magazine might repost the video, but I need something without subtitles because now the computers can read the words.
Yes, they
And
can.
so,
Yes. I was
you
about to ask
know,
about that. Yeah. So even
so
us
if
seeing
you know, a
something
lot of people
negative.
when they talk
Yeah.
about like self-harm, you know, they'll say unalive instead of the other version, you know,
Yeah.
and it's
Okay.
like,
So and
I don't
that's
know.
only we're only at the beginning of that, because the algorithms are going to they're going to be able to read facial expressions. They're going to look at what's on your shelf behind you and know that somebody should send you an ad to buy that product. They're going to basically scour your life for information.
They're already, I mean, that's already TikTok looks at your eyes to see how long you're actually engaged with the video. And
Mm.
I mean, my TikTok algorithm used to be girls in bikinis, and now it's like lower back stretches, you know, because they know that that's the one I'm actually paying attention to.
I sort of feel like with social media now, there's almost more censorship than ever. Last week there was a congressman who made a remark about there was this story about the military and how you know, Republicans want to make it harder to get in the military if you're gay or rainbow pride or whatever, and this guy was saying and I guess harder to get in if you're black. Anyway, this congressman says something about, well, everybody should have an even playing field, whether they're colored or black or whatever. And the internet freaked out because he used the word colored. And Zip, when we were younger, that was
That was the
acceptable.
appropriate term.
Yeah, we're
There's no comparison. Yeah. I was just going to
There's-
ask you, Andrew, when you get clipped on or censored on Facebook, do you think it's just an algorithm, or is there actually a body watching and noticing? Is it just combinations of words?
It's hard to
trigger it?
say because sometimes getting clipped just means the video didn't perform well, and you're like, well, was it a shitty joke? Was it bad camera quality? Was it whatever? Did I start the joke in the wrong spot that made someone just scroll past it instead of pause for at least 3 seconds?
Okay.
And it could be any number of those things. So, you know, I actually just posted a video to YouTube about how I self-produce my own shows, and it said limited advertising due to content. And I was like, this is the most harmless joke ever. And it says request a manual review. And so I hit the button, and then 2 days later it says, oh, our bad, you're good, go ahead. And
right.
so there is
Oh.
a time where you can request a human, but sometimes it'll still come back and say, nope, we disagree. And you don't get to call anybody up and go, hey, can I argue it's not like traffic court where you can go, but I have a point, they just go, no, rubber stamp, you're out of here.
There's another aspect of this is that it's so automated as well as what Andrew just described that you could you're like submitting a record to a radio station for airplay to go with a real old analogy. Some of the records get in a pile. Some of them brought in by a promoter and they get promoted more. Some of them are accompanied by a little bit of cocaine and they get on the air right away. And some of them, which may be fantastic records, end up on the bottom of the pile because it's just not what the radio station needed or prioritized at that moment. And I do feel with here's a couple things I know about Facebook. If I post a video that's a link to YouTube, tumbleweeds, hardly anybody sees it because it's a YouTube link. And Andrew has told me that if I post it in the comments, that it's less squelched because people in the comments are participating in the conversation and Facebook knows that. But I'm pretty sure by now that Facebook knows I posted it in the comments to get around their algorithm. You know what I mean? And so it's this cat and mouse game where you never actually get to see the cat and you're just the mouse is kind of what it feels like. It doesn't feel fair at all to a performer.
Now, what is fair, right? They built the platform. They are allowed to make the rules. You wanna do a thing, buy Twitter and tank it yourself,
I'm sure I could have competed in that, in that effort. I know. This gets to unionization.
So it's hard to complain because it's like this thing will give you millions of views and a platform and attention and a way to make a living, but then it can also just take it away at a moment's notice.
Give it to take it away. And corporate overlords, and Zuck's the boss, and he's the billionaire. But I think there's too much acceptance of that these days, that the billionaires get to run everything. I mean, I honestly think your generation is too lazy to protest and get off the couch. And go, did I just bleep myself out?
Well, I mean, again, Facebook has responded to resounding pressure from other people, like when a lot of this backlash too is like well-meaning, but like in the middle of COVID, nobody knew exactly what was real and what was, was this a lab leak? Was this a whatever? And now there's been still 17 studies that say different things. And if you even posted something on Facebook that was like, the vaccine is not effective, you're banned from posting for 10 days. Yeah. And now you're allowed to make fun of the vaccine all you want. And it's like, well, why couldn't we do that necessarily at the beginning? Why were we being censored,
Because the aforementioned corporate overlords, which I don't fear them too much. I mean, I'm sure they could find a way if I became a priority. Like if the president got mad at you and the IRS would audit you, something could go wrong. But I think there needs to be more activism on the part of young people to make things better. I don't even need the word fair. What's bad about this is it's a race to the bottom because whatever tickles the fancy of the algorithm makes the most addictive. It's sort of like big food makes food that's full of sugar, fat, and processed chemicals that make you an addict to it. And to me, that's how our media is being run now too. And people are literally ants, crawling on the honey or the melting ice cream cone, doing whatever. Zip, have I got you on this one?
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. Can you imagine if the government stepped in one day and said, "Listen, we're no cell phone use for the next 30 days"? What would happen? What would happen to America in general? Yeah. I mean, people would flip out entirely, I think.
But I think what we're experiencing now is yes, we're so addicted, and yes, we can't live without them. But I think the way we're being controlled is going to border on cruelty soon to love and humor and laughter and the human the human race's chance to have the cream rise to the top. Do you think the cream rises to the top now, Andrew?
I don't think it ever has. I think there's a perception of back in my day, but like who says Tom Brokaw was the best he was just the guy who got the shot and who got picked by a guy, and there wasn't.
Yes.
I think there's more opportunity and more fairness now. Anybody can go blah 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 and post it to TikTok and get 1 million views on the very first time that they post it,
Yeah. So if
in my
there's
mind,
if there were these two guys, let's call them, I don't know, John and Paul, in a room making incredible music and the most brilliant writers of all, but they just couldn't throw monkey poop. I or they couldn't hang off the back of a pickup truck with a skateboard singing a Fleetwood Mac song. I think that I think there's damage being done to the ability of real art.
How many bands did you quit when you were, how many bands were you even in that you never quite got a shot with a record label, you never quite whatever, that if you'd put in a couple more 1,000 hours, maybe something could have happened,
But those bands were nurtured. Those bands were discovered. Record companies curated artists and sent A&R guys, artist and repertoire guys, out to scour the country. Let's use your sports analogy, like a baseball scout would, to find the next great pitcher.
And yet there are still people that go undrafted that make the Pro Bowl and the Hall of Fame.
I'm not saying
clearly the people in charge have no fucking clue what they're doing.
Many of them did. Many of them did, as you know.
I mean, someone gave you a career, for God's sake. I mean,
we had classic rock. You had this garbage that you grew up listening to.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's some of the greatest music of all time, curated over time. And now today, I'm not saying there isn't great music out there, but I'm saying there's so much ear candy and artificial.
Well, whose fault is that you fall victim to this? Everybody knows McDonald's is unhealthy. There's still a line. That's the consumer's fault.
Actually, now that I use the app, I just drive up and the food is ready. There's
everybody
no line.
knows Fox News and CNN is manipulating you. They still click on the TV every day.
Nope.
Everybody knows.
No, they don't know. They don't know. I know some of these people. I love them. They're friends of mine. And if they see something on a news channel, they assume it wouldn't be on there unless it was true. And unlike you and I, and your job is you're a professional couch person, I understand that. But unlike you and I, they don't have time to read multiple points of view or subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. Cost me like $360 a year to subscribe to. And know what I know, even the smartest people I know read it. And what's in the Wall Street Journal is not the Fox News stuff. It's not the let's get the uneducated to chant about, LGBTQ or immigration. What's what's written in Fox News is written by the moneyed, brilliant, smart shepherds of conservatism about how to keep Wall Street thriving and healthy, and how to interpret and sort of move the population around. I mean, that's the most brilliant stuff out there. And it's not even brilliant because it's brilliant if you know how to interpret it. But in order to interpret the Wall Street Journal, you have to also read the New York Times. And both of those things cost money. And the general population does not have access to information. We used to go to the library.
YouTube is free, my friend.
It's free. I just love watching old concerts there. It's not going to teach. It's going to teach me how to grow potatoes in a barrel if I want to, because it did when I was in Vermont. But is it going to fix the incentives for creativity and cream rising to the top? That essentially is the opposite of the business model that we're in right now. The business model now is addiction. It's just like food. I mean, it's addiction and habit forming, not nutrition. And if you want to eat nutritiously, as you know, You got to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal of Food, whatever that is. Maybe go into
Hard
Trader
work,
Joe's.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
certainly you have to find the information, but that's no different from, I mean, I think the news in the 60s was lying to you also. I think we were just less aware of
Yes,
it.
but they were a coordinated attack of lies to keep everybody calm. It was like, did you hear about JFK banging Marilyn Monroe? Yeah, let's not go with that tonight. Okay. Thank God there is no Drudge Report. That's not going to get out. Okay. Let's instead, let's look at what the military industrial complex says about our war in Vietnam. We're winning, we're winning, we're winning. Okay, we'll put that on there. So, yes, that kind of fake narrative running has always been done. It was done extremely well when there were only 3 networks.
It's funny that you mentioned that the goal was to calm everyone down, and now the goal is to rile everyone up.
Because that's the business model. It's been turned on its head. It's been turned on its head now, so the only way to win is to get people angry and divided. And Donald Trump didn't make that happen. He just took advantage of it.
But yeah, as you see, that button gets less effective over time.
Which button?
You know, the
outrage button?
The bell that he's ringing, the dog whistle,
Oh.
stops working the more that you use it, you know?
Can I make
yes, please, Zip.
an old white man's observation here? Back in
Are
our
you
day,
qualified?
Growing up in our time, we had the 3 networks, maybe a UHF with the Stooges or whatever, 2 daily newspapers or whatever. I think the only social media platform where anybody got a chance to mouth off and get their point across was the op-ed page in a newspaper.
Yes.
And now everyone has a bullhorn and a broadcast studio in their pocket.
And
it's global. It's not just national, it's global.
Every single word you read is an op-ed page because there is no standard of factual news now. I mean, every article I read, I go, I'm in the Wall Street Journal, right? This is slanted against liberals. Or I'm in the New York Times. This is slanted against conservatives. And it's the news. It's not the op-ed. It's just the paper has to appeal to its customer base. And the customer base is in this herd or that herd. And there's 2 big herds,
That's why I think that those don't, I think it's designed to keep us fighting about the stuff that is really not that important. Whereas if you get above it and you look at the geopolitical, it's so much more complicated. And that's why I have this joke where I kind of am like, I believe in the deep state, where there's like a secret government running shit. And just because I'm optimistic, otherwise that means that these, we have a president with the attention span of a goldfish, and the last guy was literally a goldfish. They're in charge. That seems irresponsible. Yeah. So
it's almost more comforting to believe that it's a fake news plot, because if it's real, it's real screwed up. Yeah,
keep them busy with this and keep them distracted, and we can just move forward in a general direction. I mean, that's what it feels like. I mean, that's, again, I'm hopeful that that's what it is. Otherwise,
I was by the way, I was watching Zip lean in thinking he was about to say something, but he just gave that news anchor look and went.
No, you got to factor in the dopamine, the addiction of anger and all that other stuff, that roundhouse of people screaming at each other. It's like a rugby scrum, the comments on any particular topic. It's really feeding a weird part of humanity. I have to.
Yeah,
that's my view.
And by the way, Andrew, I think about your lifetime, which will be longer than mine. Good Lord willing, God bless. But I think about like the next 5-6 decades of what you're going to experience in the direction the world is going in right now. And yeah, sure, it's a typical old guy. The world is going to hell in a handbasket. I'm worried about the next generation or whatever. But as I actually see the handbasket marching
the boomers
towards
weren't
hell,
so worried while they were ruining the next generation. But
no, we weren't. But, and by the way, you have my sincere apologies.
We lost big time. We lost on that one.
We lost our way. It was peace, love, and understanding.
I think about this a lot too, because on the last podcast, even I almost brought it up. Where we're so anti-capitalism, but sometimes when you zoom out and you look at the rest of the world, you think like, well, we have fared pretty well, and capitalism incentivizes some of this ingenuity that's been unique to us necessarily. And so
Give me an example.
now every action has an opposite or equal reaction, the same way that when I was in 7th grade setting up a balloon on a straw across the living room, and you let out the balloon and it goes the other way, it does incentivize some selfishness, where now you see the boomers hoarding all their wealth and refusing to give it up, and now we're going to reap some of the consequences of that. But right, when you look at the
can you hold on? I want you to back
40%
up
of
a little.
home buyers this year were boomers.
Andrew, back up a little, because you're saying such great stuff, but I have no chance to get you to expound on it.
All right.
I don't know where to begin.
Well, no system is perfect, so which one do you want?
That's a good spot to begin. So since no system is perfect, and this one's going to hell in a handbasket, how do we get a little further away from hell and a little closer to perfect? And I think what it's going to take, honestly, is a groundswell. I think it's going to be another generation, maybe not yours, maybe the kids you haven't had yet, but I think there's going to...
You guys have to die off.
We're on our way. Relax. But I think there's going to be...
believe me.
But no, I think there needs to be a groundswell of grassroots people who are mad as hell, not going to take it anymore, and don't like the way the world is going. But right now, and I say this to you too, you all seem to be convinced, well, just like the slaves were on the plantation.
You guys are in control.
Hold on, let me finish. You were monologuing over me. Cage match. Zuckerberg owns the plantation, and you're one of his slaves. And you're convinced that you have some freedom because he lets you work for him from your couch on your phone anytime you want to. You don't have to punch a clock, but everything that you do has to feed his idea of what success is, not yours necessarily.
Welcome to the world. When I perform at a comedy club and they hire me for $1,200 for the weekend, I have to fulfill their expectations of what they hired me for.
Yes, you have to connect with an audience.
Their business model, and they're, I am their slave. I'm getting paid slave wages. I'm being abused, and I'm getting shoved in a broom closet and told, shut up until showtime and then get out there and dance, funny boy.
Okay.
So what are my alternatives? This is my favorite game to play, is what are my alternatives? Okay, if I don't want to be a cog in Zuckerberg's machine, I could be a cog in, the Instagram machine. I could be a cog on Twitter. I could be, no, I'm going to go on NBC, which, I have to, there's people that are gatekeepers over there, This is the system that provides the best value on return for me. So I don't know another way that empowers me to do what I want,
Yeah. So
I'm not just post on there and get millions of views. What other system lets me do that? NBC doesn't let me buy airtime.
No, I'm not talking about just you, but I am talking about society, of which, and this is the weird thing, I'm just a cog in society. I can't do anything to change the system, is exactly how that's how they want us. But speaking out about changing how people treat each other is zigging when others are zagging. It's the
but
shock.
It's an algorithm. This thing was designed to be community. This was designed to be the local fire pit where we would all go, caveman, good, me, big gorilla, So that campfire was dominated by whoever could have the most social clout necessarily.
Yes.
So there were rules to the campfire. We live in a society. You don't have to participate. You don't have to click on the stuff that makes you angry. You can click on butts and boobs, and Zuckerberg will happily show you that all day. So
that's like saying you don't have to eat processed food. You don't have to be controlled
You
by
can grow a farm. You
yeah,
can live in a
yeah,
bunker. I know people that
but
do that, you know?
yeah.
It's a different life. It's much harder, and
So
it
shouldn't
requires a certain
okay.
amount of dedication, but
So we live in
it's
this
an
thing called
option.
civilization.
Mm.
Hmm.
You don't have
Um,
to participate in it. Live off the
actually,
grid. Go make your own wind farm
all right.
and grow
I've
your own food and
Zip.
live on the land.
Zip. I think his shields are on maximum right now because I'm
I mean,
challenging the current
literally,
event.
prove me wrong. Like, literally, where else can you do that? You know, we
It's not
have
about
that freedom.
it's not about proving anybody wrong. It's about aspiring to something that's better.
I have a friend with a bomb shelter.
Good in the back
He,
pocket. Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, people live off the land, and because they say the cell phones are like, no one is forcing you to get
No,
a Facebook account.
I'm not suggesting any of the things you're saying I'm suggesting.
Well, you called it slavery. You know, slavery represents no choice. You have a choice. Don't play the game.
Slaves had
Blow
plenty
the
of
game
choices
up.
too. Do you want to be with Thomas Jefferson tonight, or do you want to be with one of the other masters? They had choices. Look, choices. Everybody has choices, but one choice that would be nice is for civilized people as a collective to realize that they need to be nicer to each other, uncontrolled by the media. So you're saying it's hard for that to happen. There's nothing in place to make that happen, and that's precisely my point. So we actually agree. But I think that once in a generation or once in a great while, this kind of shift comes from the groundswell of of people getting sick of it. Like if we quit drinking, it's because we were sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I guess people seem too complacent to how much they're being controlled by now. If I had to sum it up, it's not about you personally, although I realize we might have seemed that way. It's that people are really docile about being controlled right now, and that sticks in my craw.
You know, when we were growing up, the Woodstock generation, you were a little younger than I was, but right during those Woodstock years, I graduated in 71. So from maybe 68 to 72 or 73, communes were huge. Living off the grid, bunch of people just getting together. Hey, get on the bus. We're going out and living off the land. So it still exists, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Go eat some berries and see what happens. I
mean, no, seriously though, there was.
I think this is good. I think it's time. All right. I think it's time to play
capitalism and you know what I mean. It was same.
So
thing.
Zip. We were there, and we can't even really convey it to Andrew because he didn't live that. He knows the classic rock as my dad's music. Some of it was pretty good, but I thought rap was cooler, and it's old sounding now because of course it's old sounding. It's 50 years old, but the spirit that people had about caring about each other, and it was also anti-war. Like now there's a war, and there's no anti-war movement. How there could not be an anti-war movement? I got to give the corporate overlords and the military industrial complex and big food and big pharma and I got to give everybody credit. We are the most docile pets to ever be human beings in civilization.
Because it's pretty comfortable. I mean,
I've got a device. I can use it anytime. I can instantly find out.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, travel to other countries and go to Iran and tell them about how you're so oppressed. Tell them. I mean,
much worse it's over there.
It's as good as it gets. Quality of life wise. I mean, maybe we're not Sweden where they love everybody and everything's perfect, but they pay 70% of their income in taxes or whatever. So
you have got the talking points of both sides down verbatim to
I
what the
mean,
narrative is. Yes.
they're also at risk of being invaded by other countries all the time. And,
Sure.
they don't have to spend a ton of money on defense. And, one of the benefits of our borders that we
Yeah.
murdered other people to create is that it's really hard to come attack us. You got to travel across the world in an ocean. And so, we've sort of had this.
Yeah.
We also, live in a very resource rich environment, which is what most wars are about: water or minerals or
Power, money. Yeah.
Oil.
food,
Always money. Yeah.
well, to
Always
create
money.
you get money from controlling resources. Yeah. So
all right, we have. Hold on a second. I just wanted the time. What time? We have solved all the world's problems. Thank you. That was good. I think we've had a more frank discussion than a lot of people have. I want to play the second clip that we have of Andrew. This is a super funny piece
I like this
from
one.
Fargo. I love this one. I totally cracked up. All right, this is Andrew. And when you go to a city, you sort of find out something local to make fun of in the city. It's a touring comics kind thing they do, because when a comic gets on stage and knows your city, it warms you up right away to them. And here's how Andrew warmed up Fargo, North Dakota.
I don't know if you guys will get this, because I've never been to the Welcome Center in the town that I live in. But the Fargo Welcome Center is the only one I've ever seen with a heavy emphasis on murder. They have 2 wood chippers. That is not very welcoming. Hey, welcome to Fargo. Great place to hide a body, don't you know? Seems like a bad slogan. Do you guys have any cultural or historical landmarks? Oh yeah, in the display in the tiny corner over there. But don't you want to buy a murder t-shirt? I do, actually. I do want to buy a murder t-shirt.
What I love about that most is that Andrew spent a year and a half growing his hair for that joke. Because the hair reveal was everything.
Yes,
a couple things.
It was a very fun moment for me.
Well, that was
I
great.
like-
I like the trickery, and it's so fun for me.
Oh, all right, very good. What a quick temperature check for everybody. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it is currently only 114 degrees. What's your temperature in Seattle?
We're at 82 where I live right now, but I just came from Spokane where it was a solid 95, and
And a little bit of
so
humidity.
it's
so that counts.
what's funny, I joked about this last year because I've lived in Seattle for most of my adult life, and I never had to own an air conditioner until recently. So
Cool.
last year we had 3 days in a row over 100 degrees, and we had something like a record 14 days over 90, and it's getting wild out here. So
Zip, aren't you?
and also heat is the biggest killer of people, of all the natural things.
really?
Heat kills the most people.
Interesting. Zip, are you? Because you're in New England, are you doing massive flooding again? What's going on there?
Yeah, actually, it was pretty bad. Muggy, and it's probably 75, and it's 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock.
Muggy and 75, and I now understand Muggy being in the desert. Your mom this morning got up, and we sat outside for a little while until it was about 100, and then she today got very ornery because she realized this is the first day we were supposed to be in Hawaii, and then I had that heart AFib thing, so we're not in Hawaii. And today she realized for the first time that it was so hot that she was trapped in this very comfortable house. But she,
With
as
you.
soon as, yeah, with me, thank you. And again,
It has
I
nothing to
know
do
you-
with the house. It's, it's the company.
It's even the couch is comfortable, but get me a different couch. I understand. But so she started, your mom, and it was I was like, uh-oh, how am I going to get her out of this? And I said, well, what do you want to do? and she just wanted to. I just want to go somewhere. You never take me anywhere, which is so funny because if there was a map of the globe with pictures of me and Lisa all over it, it would look like the globe has chickenpox, measles. But anyway, so we went to a casino, a huge casino that you could see from our backyard called, I think it's South Station. Anyway,
South Point.
massive South Point. Thank you. And Andrew knows this because every time he comes over, Mom goes, over there is where the Raiders practice, and that's South Point Casino. And if you look to the left there, she loves to be a tour guide, and she's, she does it with love, and civilized love.
It's the problem
anyway,
is it's the same tour every time,
I know. Oh, that's where the Raiders practice. We're old. So anyway, so she said, let's go to the South Point Casino. And I thought, sure. Let's treat it like it's a national park. It's going to be 76 degrees in there, and we're going to see wildlife, human wildlife with tattoos and all sorts of strange clothing that you wouldn't necessarily think you'd wear out in public.
Lots of hippopotamus moving slow. Wow, yeah.
Well,
hippopotamus grew wheels, apparently.
Yeah. I don't fat shame anybody or make fun of people for their physical disabilities, but I know you're at an age where that's
I will absolutely
yes, that still happens. So we did. So we went.
I absolutely do. Yeah.
Yeah. The casino was so packed because I think other people had the same idea. And it is so huge that we walked like 1.3 miles just by going into all the wings and second floor and every nook and cranny. And then she was happy. And I was thinking, like, that was a cheap date. We didn't spend a nickel. We just walked and looked at people. And we do make fun of people when people are waddling in front of us, because they'll waddle and they'll just stop. Like it doesn't occur to them anybody's behind them.
It's my biggest pet peeve traveling is in the airport, people just stop in the middle of the thing and go, oh. Or like any touristy thing, Vegas Strip, for example, they just stop in the middle of the sidewalk. Oh, there's not a picture of that on the internet,
Yeah, it's amazing how unaware people are.
No spatial driving. No one has. I'm the only car on the road. I'll just camp in this left lane going 52 miles an hour.
And it's not hard to believe that whatever they see on a screen from a newscaster must be exactly verbatim truth. Anyway,
and that's their fault for not asking questions. The weak deserve to die.
In civilization, we care less about fault and more about, look, yes, some people win, some people lose. There's capitalism, blah, blah, blah. But let's have a certain amount of kindness so that we aren't hurting the sum of the whole by not taking care of the people that need some help. Anyway, that liberal moment was brought to you by Libtard. So, all right. I did want to say this also. This has been fun. It's a sort of an inaugural voyage. I did want to say this also. Looking at myself on camera and looking at Zip on camera and looking at Andrew on camera, I'm digging being in the desert because I got some good color on my face. I'm not the healthiest person in this room, but Andrew is. But having a little sun, I don't even care that it's 115 outside. I got air conditioning. I'll go out this evening. But it does feel good. And yeah, I do. I'm surprised that the desert, this is the hottest. I mean, it's 115. The record of all time was 117. They said they might have hit it today. I didn't look. But I'd rather this than muggy, mosquitoes, rain, all that. So I'm old.
So you'd rather drain the power grid so you can live in an uninhabitable part of the world and contribute to global.
Yes.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, while you put up with the billionaire
we just need
overlords.
to take care of each other unless it interferes with my personal. I like a balmy 67,
So hang on.
and I just, I can't sleep if there's not a little breeze. Could we get a fan going?
Look, the power
yes,
grid
I
is
know
one of
that
my
energy crisis, and we're running out of water, and but
not.
that's tomorrow's generation. That doesn't matter.
We're not running out of anything. We're running out of ideas and innovation. We need, like, the power grid. The fact that we got to make a bigger power grid and that we have to convert to green energy is one of the big blessings of now. And the more we make it urgent, the better. As far as water goes, the only reason we don't have water here is because they make something called almond milk in California. You know about that?
Oh yeah, blame everyone else for living in the desert.
Almond milk. Seriously. No,
Yeah.
the United States grows the majority of its food where food can't grow. And we steal water from our own population to make almond milk. Show me the tit on an almond. All right. I think that's about all the time we have. I wanna take a second to say thank you to Mike McMorrow. Mike and Matthew are behind the scenes. Maybe if you guys could throw yourself up on the screen for a little bit today. We're working with McMorrow Productions, who agreed to help us beta test this wonderful software. Mike, you could put yourself on in post production if it's not easy to do right now. There's Matthew. All right, Matthew is in California. Michael is in Seattle in a very impressive looking studio. Hey, Matthew, how you doing? All right, he's waving. And yeah, look at that. Isn't that impressive?
All right.
Oh,
master control. Beautiful.
I think
remember, it's not about blaming other people unless it's the goddamn almond farmers. They're the ones ruining everything.
All right. It took us a while to get into our groove, Andrew, but I think we accomplished it. I love you.
It's a great time. Thanks. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yep.
Great job. Thank you for being an inspiration and
yeah.
all the other bullshit. I'll save the
Yeah.
rest for when you're in the casket, but
Sure. All right. Zip.
Yes.
Seriously.
Thanks for the
Godfather.
free ticket to the studio audience.
Yeah. Zip said he felt like a homeless guy who got free tickets to like a late night show performance. And he is. We handed out 1,000 tickets. He's the only one who showed up. No, Zip, your perspective
No
is
problem.
always
It's my role in life.
good-hearted.
I know
Much
my
appreciated.
place.
All right, everybody, take care. It's the Father and Son podcast with Andrew Rivers and Bob Rivers. We have appreciated your time and hope some of it was thought-provoking.